Have you ever looked at a perfect, pristine blueprint and wondered, how on earth does that become an actual building? Because let's be real, there's a huge gap between the clean lines of a design and the messy, complicated reality of a construction site. I mean, just look at this. On one side, you have the vision, right? Flawless, exact, beautiful. But then, on the other side, you have what can happen in the real world. One tiny miscalculation, someone misinterprets the plan, and bam! You've got steel beams that don't line up, or pipes trying to exist in the same physical space. And trust me, these aren't just little headaches. We're talking about incredibly costly mistakes. So what's the secret? How do the pros actually bridge this gap and make sure the masterpiece on paper is what gets built, safely and correctly down to the very last bolt? Well, it all comes down to one crucial communication process. Okay, let's get into it. The answer is something called a technical submittal. And I know, it sounds kind of like boring paperwork, but it's not, I promise. This is the thing that closes that critical gap between the design dream and the on-site reality. So what is it exactly? Well, a technical submittal is basically any document, maybe a physical sample, or just some data that a contractor submits to the design team to get a thumbs up before any of that work actually happens, or materials get installed. You know the saying, measure twice, cut once? Yeah, this is that, but for the entire project. I love this quote we pulled because it just nails it. A submittal is the essential bridge between theoretical design and physical realization. It's not just a document, it's the bridge. You could even think of it as the project's central nervous system, making sure every single part is communicating correctly with every other part. Now, submittals come in all shapes and sizes, but we're going to zero in on two of the big ones, the real heavy hitters that form the blueprint of execution: drawings and calculations. First up, drawings. It's easy to think a drawing is just a drawing, but nope. On one hand, you have construction drawings from the architects. They show the intent, the big idea, what the building is supposed to look like. Then you have shop drawings. These come from the contractors and fabricators, and they get into the nitty-gritty of execution, exactly how you build each specific piece. And this chart breaks that down perfectly. Construction drawings are like the 30,000-foot view. They guide the whole project. But shop drawings, they zoom all the way in. They're created by the people actually making the parts, the steel fabricators, the mill workers. And these drawings have every little detail you can imagine. We're talking precise measurements, connection details, even the specific type of welds to use. It's that specific. So here's the key takeaway. Shop drawings tell you how to build it. But that's only half the story. The other crucial component, the engineering calculations, gives you the mathematical proof for why it's going to work safely and meet all the codes. Let's take an example where you absolutely can't mess up: a fire sprinkler system. You can't just guess where to put the pipes. An engineering calculation, like this hydraulic analysis you're seeing, gets submitted to prove, with math, that the system can actually deliver enough water at the right pressure to put out a fire. I mean, this is literally a life-saving calculation. And behind these calculations is some real science. This formula, Q equals K times the square root of P, is fundamental. It's how engineers can precisely figure out the flow rate from a sprinkler based on the water pressure and a constant that's specific to that exact sprinkler head. You need this level of detail to get that all-important approval. All right, so you've got your shop drawing or your calculation ready to go. What happens next? Well, it goes on a critical journey. Let's walk through that approval workflow, from the contractor to the design team and all the way back. There's a really clear chain of command here. First, the specialist subcontractor or fabricator creates the document. Then, it goes to the general contractor, who has to review it first to make sure it matches the project requirements. Only then does it go to the design team, the architect or engineer, for that final check against their design. And finally, they issue their official verdict. And that verdict, that's the big moment. It's the climax of the whole process. It comes as a simple status code. And you have got to know what these codes mean because they dictate exactly what happens next out on the job site. So here they are. A is approved. Green light, you're good to go. B is approved as noted, which means you can proceed, but you have to make some minor changes. Now here are the crucial ones. C means revise and resubmit, and D is rejected. For both of those, the action is stop. All related work has to halt immediately until the problems are fixed. Getting this wrong can mean tearing out brand new work. So just think about that for a second. What really happens when you get a status C? It means a team has to stop work, go back to the drawing board, fix the document, and push it through that entire review cycle all over again, all while the project schedule just keeps ticking away. And all of this leads to a final, really important question. With buildings getting more and more complex and schedules getting tighter, how do we make sure this vital, human-driven review process gets smarter and more efficient, and not just a frantic race against the clock? Well, a big part of the answer is moving away from the old ways of doing things. I mean, we've all felt the pain of trying to manage this process with outdated tools, right? Trekking hundreds of submittals with chaotic spreadsheets and confusing WhatsApp threads, it's a recipe for delays and mistakes. And this is exactly where modern tools come in. With a platform like Lementai.com, you can digitize your entire workflow. It lets you centralize all your submittals in one place, automate the review process, track every approval in real time, and keep your whole team perfectly in sync. So it's time to get rid of the spreadsheets and the chaos. It's time to digitalize your workflow. You can get started for free today at Lementai.com. This explainer was brought to you by Lementai.